So yeah, we just got back from watching Whisper of the Heart. This is the first and only film directed by, what's that guy's name?
The late Yoshifumi Kondo.
Yeah, he died back in '98. This is his only film, I believe. It's a
He is one of Hayao Miyazaki's closest confidants in Studio Ghibli.
This movie was adapted from a slice of life manga that came out back in '94. The movie was made in '95, and there's a lot of fun things about this movie, like that reflect upon Japan's culture back in 1985. There's a lot of stuff going on in Japan back in '95. The housing market was going downhill. A lot of people were losing their houses and stuff. That doesn't talk about much in the film. What doesn't talk about in the film is about how people are. Because back in the '90s, back in the '80s, Japan was prospering like crazy. They were doing so well. But then in '89, Hirohito died, the emperor died, and the housing market went to shits. And people's outlook on life became more negative. So
I guess this was more of a chance to
inspire people to be more creative.
Yeah,
exactly. The point of this film, one of the people. This was a special event before the movie even started. There was
an introduction by Rebecca Sugar.
Yeah, the person who made Steven Universe, and she said this was her favorite film, and because it encouraged people to be creative.
Yeah,
and you can definitely tell how even now Japan from what I've researched, Japan's being a little bit more lax with their laws involving education now. But back then, the whole point of this movie is this girl Shizuku is caught between her studies and her dream of becoming a writer, and she gets inspired because her parents keep trying to push her to become good at studying so she can get into a good high school.
But eventually, she gets inspired. By more art moments,
artsy stuff. So it's all about.
It's kind of like a reverse Page Master.
Really, a lot of movies sucked anyway. So
yeah.
But this is okay. It's like a reverse good Page Master.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so what happens here is there's also a lot of other references sprinkled to other Studio Ghibli films sprinkled throughout this film. Like they reference Porco Rosso. They reference My Neighbor Totoro. They reference.
Did they reference any of those?
Totally. They even said so during the Q&A session at the beginning. They said there's lots of references. They had the clock. The grandfather clock was named Porco Rosso, and the one of the books in the library was called Totoro. And
really?
Yeah, and they indirectly referenced Castle in the Sky because there was that mineral in Castle in the Sky that the miners were trying to mine, and in this one they also have these minerals. So
the story does revolve around a mineral.
Well, not really.
From what I gather from like the fantasy sequences.
Yeah. So this movie is like 98% grounded in reality. There are some moments that make you just roll your eyes and like, okay, it's a slice of life show. I'll give it a pat.
Much of it's just her. Most of it kind of centers around her imagination when she starts writing the story.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is based on a lot of the stuff she encounters. For example, the doll of anamorphic
cat, the Baron. It wasn't a doll. It was some fancy high class thing. I forgot what it was called. It was wood carving, I think. Or no, it wasn't wood carving. It had skin on it. It had some kind of fur on it. Anyway, this like I said, the plot here is in Japan back in the '90s. A lot of people were becoming extremely stressed out of stuff because the housing economy was going to shits. People were exposed to a lot more.
And you can tell because Shizuka's family, they're
poor. Well, they're not really poor, but
her mother is focused on a thesis.
Yeah.
Her sister is focused on getting a job.
Yeah.
And she is more. She's basically like Belle. She's more inspired by fairy tales and stuff.
Yeah, but she still manages to have a sense of realism in what's needed to get by in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember in the English dub. I'm not sure if they say this in the Japanese dub, but in the English dub, her sister is a bit more fickle towards her, and she's like, "What kind of job are you going to get without a college degree?" And did they say that?
They did. But
I was in the bathroom when that happened. I forgot.
Except I think she was in middle school around the time, and so. She was in...
in Japan, middle school ends when you're 14. In America, high school starts when you're 14. So she's 14, which is like towards the tail end of middle school in Japan.
I see.
So like was saying, what did I want to say? Yeah. So um, the movie starts off when she realizes that there's this kid or around her age who's been checking out the same three books, the same books that she's been checking out, and has a similar interest in her, and we hear about how the library is gonna change from these. Remember back in the old days,
Book cards to
book cards, yeah,
barcodes.
to barcodes. Yeah, barcodes, because this is '95 when when the internet was just booming back in '95.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in here that talks that you realize how much we take for granted now. Like in this movie, they have to buy a fax machine because they can't, because very few people have internet back in '95.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one scene where the mother's like, "I need to get an electro." She didn't call it a tablet. She calls it an electronic. Thing, what was the thing?
An electronic notebook.
Notebook, yeah. Back in 1985, I remember I was watching this YouTube video. Back in '95, Samsung made electronic notebooks. They cost like $3,000. So it makes you wonder how they can even afford to have that stuff if they cost so much money back then. But
yeah. Anyway, so the classmate, his name is
Seiji Souza, something was it?
I don't remember the last name, but
Seiji.
yeah. Turns out, when they start getting close together, they realize they're into more kind of like more artistic ideas.
Yeah, Seiji's more he's more of a poet slash art slash musician.
Yeah, he wants a job designing violins.
Well, not necessarily just designing. He wants to play them as well. But
that too.
That too. So he wants to go to Italy to have a mentor teach him how to do stuff. And he talks about how one thing I didn't like about this movie was it focuses a lot on the kids, but we don't see. We keep hearing about how his parents are strict. Like, oh, they said that they'd send me to Italy. They're very strict on me. They don't want me to do this. And then eventually he says they'll send me to Italy, but under the guidance of a very strict instructor. We never see the adults being strict. I would have liked a little bit more if we saw it be a bit more grounded.
I think we kind of saw the way his grandfather treats him. By the way, the grandfather owns the shop.
He's super nice. Yeah, his grandfather's super nice. So his grandfather is the only person who encourages them who encourages the kids to become creative and hold on to that youthful spirit, while at the same time,
I think what Kondo wanted was to give us like a contrast between something that is encouraging,
yeah,
and something that's contradicting. So. And again, we don't see anyone kind of encourage Suzuka except for Seiji
and his
grandfather.
Yeah, and towards the end, her parents they're kind of they're not, I wouldn't say obnoxious. They're just very stern. They say, we understand you've been studying a lot for something else, for some like side activity. She doesn't want to say that she's just goofing off writing, but we see that she's not just goofing off. Like she stays up till 4 o'clock in the morning just to finish writing pages of her story, chapters of her story.
Yeah,
and
it's almost close to dawn when she eventually finished her first draft.
And you could see how like a lot of things that happen in real life inspire her stories. Like there's a scene where she's towards the end when Seiji asked her to ride with him, and they see that the town's covered in fog, and it looks like what do you say it looked like? It looked like a mystical valley or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you could definitely see it's showing people how to like and.
It's showing people that there's more to just go
channel what you love into something that's productive.
Yeah, you can be productive in different ways.
Yeah, and
that doesn't have to do with just just like focusing on academics or focusing on or there's more ways you can do it.
Yeah. But this is Japan, and one thing that I think was kind of weird for the English dub was that they were trying to translate an English song into Japanese, then redub it back in English again because they wanted their words to rhyme.
Oh so, in the Japanese dub, they
rhyme in the Japanese dub.
Country Roads is like a motif.
Yeah, so John Denver's Country Road is a it's a driving force. It's everywhere. So what happens is in the English dub, I remember they were singing and they were trying to hum the theme Country Roads, but they were like they had all these words that didn't rhyme because they're trying to make them rhyme in Japanese.
Yeah, in the Japanese dub, they they're trying to translate country roads.
But make it rhyme, which is like it reminds me of that song. What's the song "Under the Sea" by Frank Sinatra? Somewhere under the sea.
Yeah,
well, I remember.
Beyond the Sea.
You speak French, right?
Beyond the Sea
Yeah.
by Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, you speak French, right?
Yeah, the original
Yeah,
French is
the original
La
French
Mer.
was La Mer, which translates to which sounds like somewhere in English, whereas La Mer in French means the sea. So whenever you translate a song, you're never gonna have a perfect translation.
I guess
so,
it's kind of the same way.
Yeah,
But-
so a lot of the movies about her friends or about people trying to make a version of a Japanese version of Country Roads that rhymes in Japanese.
Yeah, and one of them is actually called Concrete Road.
And then we find her for it. It's like,
I mean, Seiji just kind of, Seiji kind of encounters it and is like, "You don't worry, I'll forget it." Chances are they don't actually forget it, but that it does kind of he does kind of remember it and does encourage Shizuka because he actually likes it.
yeah.
To go and have Shizuka just like
Yeah.
come up with something, and she decides to write the story.
One thing I think was I'm not sure who wrote the original story, if it was a woman or not, but I definitely feel like it was a woman because boys, in my opinion, they're not very shy. The boys in this movie are written to be very well, not all of them, but two of them, the two main boys, the two main male leads. What's his name again?
One of them is Seiji,
Seiji, and the other one, I forgot his name. But
Yeah, I
the
forgot
two
the other
males are written to be extremely dense and be shy and coy.
They do say in the dialogue that like between like Shizuka and her friend that like they do say that boys are dense.
Yeah, they're dense, but they're not coy. They're not gonna be like, oh no, I would never make fun of you for this.
I mean,
boys are more upfront and honest about their feelings.
It's a teen movie.
I know, but I just feel like this was written by a woman who didn't understand that boys aren't like that.
I mean, it does kind of feel kind of like 80s teen movie.
Well, this stuff came out back in '94, so the manga came out back in '94. The movie was '95.
So yeah, but I don't know. Maybe there was a reason why it was written this way.
I just feel like it doesn't really hurt the movie, but you could just chop it up to youthful innocence. But at around 14, boys become kind of obnoxious, girls become kind of moody, and boys become kind of aggressive.
Not
all of them, but
I didn't see that in.
I know. I'm just saying the way they portray the boys like there's this one kid who's
I don't know, but anyway, it's.
No one. I just don't think a 14-year-old boy is gonna be that coy. He's gonna be more upfront, because girls, in my opinion, are more.
Whoa, wait!
I don't want to generalize, but
it's like I mean, it does. Yeah, there is a bit of. I mean, let's face it. It is kind of animated to be kind of
less of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and who knows? Maybe, maybe it's kind of like Japanese culture. So, who knows? Who knows how it actually would be in a realistic situation? But it's an animated.
Yeah, and then you've got her Shizuku's friend. What's her name again?
Yoko.
Yoko, and the other boy who's a baseball player wants to become a big.
I don't know.
Well, I don't remember his name, but I remember.
There's
a scene where he confessed that he really likes Shizuka, but she doesn't like him back, and then he says you're too dense. Why is every boy or male character in this movie besides the grandfather a bumbling idiot? Like there's a scene where
look, it's for kids.
I know.
It's meant to be kind of, I mean, look, not every kid's story can really go into a lot of the not every kid's story is going to be very realistic.
I know.
You
don't have to make all the boys like all the
look,
school
it's
kids.
far from
like there's a scene where this guy is like, "Hey, Shizuku, there's a male here for you." Like, and there's like, "Oh man, there's a guy here," or "There's a guy here for you," whatever.
And you have to remind yourself they are growing up. They're still kind of immature in sort of way. I mean.
But you get this feeling that character was supposed to be a girl, because boys don't spread gossip like that. Okay, they just don't. But it's like it would have been a lot more realistic when the girls like, "Hey Shizuku, there's a boy here for you," but instead of this guy who's like, "Oh my God, there's a boy here for you." Yeah.
Look, it's a cartoon. Everyone, look, It's exaggerated for effect.
I know.
You kind of have to suspend your
That's
disbelief
what I'm
a
saying.
little bit.
It's like 98% realistic. 1% of that being that Shizuku has these
Look,
visions
not
of
every-
that stuff.
not every-
And the other 1% is that boys act like girls.
Listen, not every coming of age story can be like a Stephen King novel.
I
Okay,
know.
it's not exactly taking. It's not exactly taking. It's taking a little bit of liberty based on personal experience. Who knows how personal it is? But again, this is a movie about, just they're going to be soon to be teenagers. Well,
They are teenagers. They're 14.
they are teenagers. So just learning their place in life, their ideas, and what they want to do with their future, and that includes kind of like personally as well as professionally.
Yeah, so other side characters, Muta, the fat cat, who was in this movie, who was also a main character in the prequel spin-off.
The spin-off of The Cat Returns.
The Cat Returns, yeah. He was in this movie. He's really nice. He's really he's like this cat. Oh yeah, that has a habit of taking the subway and knows his way around town and knows exactly when to get off the subway. Like I said, this movie isn't 100% grounded in reality, but it is enough to make you feel like it actually could happen. Just suspend your disbelief slightly, and like, okay, the cat knows where to get off at the right time. I just feel like the role would have been better for a dog because
they were trying to reflect. It doesn't matter. What they were trying to do was reflect, like a difference, like a similarity between the cat and Shizuka, just out of, as in like the way, they kind of live their life, sort of vicariously, and but. Again, there are moments where they have time to like.
Like there's a subtle moments where you see Shizuku is like running, running and dancing down the streets, and a car just barely dodges her and barely misses her. And then you see in contrast, there's a scene where the cat walks over a dog that's barking at him, and like it says, okay, so the cat doesn't care much about his surroundings either, or neither does Shizuku. I'm not sure if I'm reading too much into this, but I feel like if what you said was true, they're trying to do some similarities. I guess that's the one that I picked up the most was the cat. Both her and the cat have their head in the clouds, and they just take life one day at a time. And they don't really care about their environment. I guess that's a cool contrast. I didn't think much of it though. But another what are you saying? Anything else?
Oh
yeah. What?
I mean, There's a lot to go through, and I don't think we're going to go through all of the points.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest points that they reach is the idea of maturity, whether it's growing up or trying to perfect a craft, and they get. I think it's more outward with like Seiji's violin making and Shizuku's writing. Both of them are not exactly perfect, but and I think the grandpa said it best. It takes a while.
Oh yeah,
to make it right.
He was talking about how Malachi the stone or.
Yeah,
he gives her an example saying this rock.
It's a stone
this stone has a gem inside of it. No matter how much you polish the stone, it will never be worth as much as the gem inside of it, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's covered in ore, and there's a little stone inside it I think that it's a good metaphor for becoming, taking the steps to become who you really are.
Yeah, and I also think one thing they could have improved upon was they could have had more dream sequences or fantasy sequences where she has these dreams.
I think I missed one dream sequence.
I would have really liked to see her that because the title of the book she writes is Whisper of the Heart, which is about a talking cat.
I did watch The Cat Returns before this, so I was very intrigued on how the Baron's role is in this. Turns out he only plays like a little bit of a role.
Barely even has a speaking role.
Yeah, it's meant to kind of fuel the story, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes with the doll there, which they have the backstory for.
Yeah, apparently back in Germany when the old man, the grandpa, first bought the doll, he bought it, but he promised the owner that he'd find the doll's counterpart, a female cat. So you could tell, and it shows you how he values his doll so much and how he would never sell it. Because at first she doesn't see it, the next time she goes to his store, she sees he sold it. Like, no, I value it too much. I never sell it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think there's another thing that it's like. I guess it's another way of just saying there is more to life. There is more to life than just focusing on one thing for. I mean, I'm at this point I'm kind of running way into this.
Yeah, it's a slice of life show. Take it for what it is. Don't look too much into it if you don't want to. Just enjoy the music, enjoy the colors, enjoy the simple characters, and
it's one of those movies where you can just sit down and enjoy. It's got the heart for it, and it.
I just really would like to see. I just really wish they make a sequel to this because this is the only studio. Well, no, this one and Nausicaa are the only two Studio Ghibli films that are based on existing properties. Nausicaa's manga was only halfway finished when they made the movie, so they could still make another movie. And Whisper of the Heart, the manga, I haven't read it, but since it's not an original movie, Studio Ghibli says that almost never makes sequels to their works. But this isn't their work; it's based on someone else's work. So I really wish we could, the original author, if he or she is still alive, would make a sequel to this because I really like to see what happens afterwards.
Yeah, who knows?